Welcome to our MunichSchatzsuche. Before you begin, there are some rules to follow. Remember, you'll need your map of Munich so you don't get lost. Always stick together as a group, never wander off on your own. When you get to each of your destinations, you will need something to prove that you visited that place. That may be a postcard, a ticket stub, a digital photo. Please take photos for this activity on one camera, or any other creative thing you can think of, but don't do anything illegal. Be sure to spend some time at each destination looking and exploring. Listen to the entire podcast segment for that site before you begin to explore. Start at the Mariensäule on Marienplatz. Stand with your back to the Rathaus and head off to your right toward the Kaufhof department store. Go down Rosenstrasse, which turns into Sendlingerstrasse. Keep walking until you find the Assamkirche. It will be on your right. It's so modest on the outside, you might overlook it. Formerly known as the St. Johann Nepomuk Kirche, this extravagant 18th century church is better known as the Assamkirche because of the two Assam brothers, Cosmos and Quirin, who built it in thanksgiving for their lives having been spared in a shipwreck. This church was built between 1733 and 1746. What was going on in history around that time? In England, the typewriter had already been invented. A Russian explorer discovered Alaska, and Ben Franklin had also just started a circulating library in Philadelphia. Anyhow, the youngest Assam brother bought the land and financed the whole building project. He intended to use it as his private family church. The two brothers lived in houses on either side of the church and had their own private entrances. See if you can find them inside the church. As you enter, look for the golden skeleton of death trying to cut the string of life to the right. Now go back up Sendlingerstrasse in the same direction you came from. Head toward Marienplatz. As you get closer to Marienplatz, you will encounter a cross street. Off to the right, you will see the fountain of the Rindermarkt. This fountain is a reminder of the cattle markets that used to be held here. If it's hot, feel free to get right in and cool off your feet. Now go back to Marienplatz. Back at Marienplatz, turn to your left and walk down Kaufingerstrasse until you get to the Michaelskirche. Check your map. It will be on your right. It doesn't look very church-like, so you'll need to be careful not to miss it. Kaufingerstrasse widens into a small square in front of the church. Don't go in yet. Take a look at the outside of the church. This is Renaissance architecture. One of the characteristics of this style is the use of horizontal lines. Can you see that feature on the facade of the Michaelskirche? Look for the larger-than-life-size statue between the two entrances. It shows the Archangel Michael, Michaelskirche, get it? Fighting for the faith and killing evil in the form of a satyr. In 2010, the church facade was undergoing renovation. This kind of project can take years, so you may not be able to see the Renaissance features, but you should find the Archangel Michael stored somewhere inside the church. Enter the church now. Look around at the elegant white stucco interior. When the tower of the Michaelskirche collapsed in 1590, only 7 years after the building's completion, Duke Wilhelm V interpreted the disaster to be a sign from heaven that the church wasn't big enough, so he rebuilt it and made it a lot bigger. Today, the Michaelskirche is not only the largest Renaissance church north of the Alps, it is also the second largest barrel-vaulted roof in the world. Only St. Peter's Basilica in Rome is larger. You might want to go down into the crypt here at the Michaelskirche. It's at the front on the right side. Look for the steps leading down. Here you will find the tombs of the royal Wittelsbach family, the rulers of Bavaria, including that of King Ludwig II, who built Neuschwanstein, Linderhof, and Herrenchiemsee castles. His coffin is permanently draped in flowers with a candle burning at its foot. Warning, you'll need to pay to get into the crypt. Leave the church now and turn to your right and continue on to Karlsplatz. Continue down Kaufingerstrasse away from Marienplatz until you come to Karlsplatz, also known as Stachus. You'll know you've reached Karlsplatz because the pedestrian zone ends there, and you will also see Karlstor, one of the gates from the former walled city. Look for the little monk for which München is named on the Karlstor. You will walk through Karlstor to get to the fountain. The main feature of Karlsplatz is a huge fountain. What shape is it? A postcard from Karlsplatz would be a good souvenir for verification of your visit. There's a Woolworth store underground here with cheap stuff. Pretend you're going to take the U-Bahn and check out the shops on the underground levels. Head back to Marienplatz now. Head back toward Marienplatz now, but take a left at Augustinerstrasse, check your map, and find the Frauenkirche, Munich's landmark cathedral. The Frauenkirche's copper onion dome towers, one just a little shorter than the other, dominate the city skyline. Its red brick Gothic architecture is pretty plain, but the lofty whitewashed interior inspired the legend of the Devil's Footprint. Apparently, the architect, Jörg Ganghofer, made a pact with the devil. In order to get enough money to complete this church, he had to construct it without a single visible window. When the devil came to inspect the completed church, he saw the high Gothic windows from a distance and thought he'd get the builder's soul. Once inside, he was led to a certain point from which not one window was visible, since all were hidden by pillars. Stamping his foot in rage, the devil stormed off, leaving his black footprint in the pavement by the entrance hall. Rebuilding following World War II has meant that this trick no longer quite works from this particular point, but the footprint is still there. Find the dark footprint, der schwarze Tritt. Stand on it and look for the windows. Then take a step or two forward and see if you can see more of the windows. Remember, it doesn't exactly work right anymore, but it's still kind of fun. Remember to prove you were here. Maybe a photo of your group standing in the lily pad fountain in front of the church. Now go back to Marienplatz and stand facing the Neues Rathaus. The street directly to the left of the Rathaus is called Weinstrasse. Walk down this street until it turns into Theatinerstrasse. You can't miss the Theatiner Kirche with its golden yellow towers and green copper dome on the left side of the small square called Odeonsplatz. This church was built between 1663 and 1690 in celebration of the birth of a Bavarian crown prince. Enter the church and look at this example of Italian Baroque architecture. What color is the interior? What kind of souvenir of the Theatiner Kirche might prove you were here? As you exit the Theatiner Kirche, you will see the Feldherrnhalle directly to your right on Odeonsplatz. It houses statues of two of Bavaria's greatest military heroes. It was here on November 9, 1923, that armed police stopped Hitler's beer hall putsch, an attempt to overthrow the government, opening fire on the future dictator's band of would-be revolutionaries. Hitler was arrested 2 days later. Although constitutional law called for life imprisonment for anyone trying to subvert the Constitution by force, Hitler's sentence was a mere 5 years. He actually served less than 9 months, and used that time to dictate Mein Kampf, a rambling exposition of ideas and philosophy that was to form the blueprint for Nazi inhumanities over the next 2 decades. Viscardigasse, the alley behind the Feldherrnhalle, has an interesting memorial to people who resisted Hitler. Look down while walking through the alley, and you will find a line of golden bricks. A number of Hitler's followers were killed in Odeonsplatz during the beer hall putsch. When he came to power, Hitler had a memorial to them erected by the Feldherrnhalle and ordered that anyone passing the memorial had to honor it by either giving the Nazi salute or bowing their heads. Many Münchners who disagreed with Hitler would cut through the alley rather than saluting the memorial, a small act of defiance to the powerful Nazi government. Return now to Odeonsplatz. Across from the Theatiner Kirche is the Residenz, home of the royal Wittelsbach family from 1385 until 1918. Find the lions next to the entrance door. Watch what Münchners do as they pass by. Rubbing the lions is supposed to bring you wealth or good luck, depending on the story. Try it, but only rub one or you'll cancel out your good fortune. Another story says Münchners who were forced to salute or bow their heads at the Nazi memorial by the Feldherrnhalle countered that action by rubbing the lions, a signal of loyalty to the old Bavarian government. About half of the Residenz is open to the public as a museum, but what you're looking for is the entrance to the Cuillier Theater, also known as the Residenz Theater, located at Residenzstrasse 1, inside the Residenz. Don't confuse the Cuillier Theater with the National Theater. That's the big one with lots of steps on Max-Joseph-Platz. The entrance is a bit tricky to find, but you can ask. Just say, "Wissen Sie, wo das Residenztheater ist?" You'll need an entrance ticket to go look at the theater. Ask, "Gibt es eine Studentenermäßigung?" a reduced price for students, and show your passport to get a reduced price if you're under 18. Even at full price, though, it's well worth it. A perfectly intact Rococo gem. Rococo is Baroque architecture taken to the next extreme. It's dripping in gold and bristling with intricate carvings. It was originally the royal family's private theater. The theater is named after the Dutch dwarf who built it. François Cuillier began his career with the Wittelsbach family as the court jester. By the way, it was the dwarf architect's son who completed the building of the Theatiner Kirche. See all that red drapey material and the marble pillars? It's all carved and painted wood, not velvet and marble at all. Amazing, isn't it? Another interesting fact, what you see here is the original theater. During World War II, the interior of this theater was cut apart like a giant jigsaw puzzle, numbered, and hidden safely in caves in the Alps, and then returned to Munich and reassembled. Check your map once again and head down Residenzstrasse toward Marienplatz. This street will soon turn into Dienerstrasse. Look for a store on your left called Alois Dahlmeier and go in. Alois Dahlmeier used to be caterer to the royal Wittelsbach family, and today the store is a gourmet shopper's paradise. Look for lobsters swimming in marble pools, heaps of fresh caviar on ice, wonderful coffees, chocolates, and pastries. It's great fun just to look around, and not a bad place to buy a couple souvenirs. Continue down Dienerstrasse back to Marienplatz. Ahead of you across the square is St. Peter's Church, St. Peterskirche, the oldest church in Munich. The exterior is an example of Gothic architecture, pointed arches, but the interior is Baroque. Munich was a stronghold of Catholicism during the Reformation years, earning it gifts of relics, the bones of holy people, from Rome. Check out the bones of Saint Mandita in the second side chapel on your left as you enter. She is the patron saint of single women. She was Baroqueified in the 18th century. Do you know what Baroqueified means? If you have time and energy, and it's a nice day, climb the tower. It's 300 steps. The entrance is on the outside of the church. The stairs are narrow and the traffic is two-way, so be prepared to have close encounters with other tourists. You'll pay about €1 for this privilege. Ask for a student discount again. From the top, you get a great view of Munich and even the Alps on a clear day. Don't forget to document. After all that climbing, you might want a refreshment. Head for the Viktualienmarkt. It's almost behind the church. Check your map. Here there are numerous food stands. Remember, don't touch, ask for what you want. Check out the fresh squeezed juices. Other typisch Munich specialties to be found here are Leberkäse, Spargel, asparagus, Germknödel, a jelly-filled dumpling topped with vanilla sauce. Be sure to see the maypole, a 14th century tradition in towns in this region. The symbols told which crafts and merchants were to be found there. The symbols on the Viktualienmarkt maypole revolve around one of Munich's main trades. Ich gratuliere! You have completed the MunichSchatzsuche. Return to your meeting place and find the rest of the group.